I think we have the head of media for Nigeria Women's Football League. That's Samuel Ahmadu joining us right now. Thank you so much, Samuel. We brought you into this conversation. I'll always say it. We brought you when it comes to women's matters. We'll always call Samuel. So, Samuel, thank you so much for joining us on In the Game.
Yeah, thanks for always doing the coronation, even though it's not a game, it's not for my wishes. But again, it's always a pleasure talking women's football, and also a great delight also being on the platform once again.
Great to have you, Samuel. Samuel, the draws have been done. We know where EDO Queens have been pitted. But before you comment about the draws, there are a lot of talks around. It's only Morocco that we've got in this continent hosting a lot of competitions at this time, hosting the CAF Women's Champions League inclusive. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the draws, the Group A and Group B that have been pitted right now?
Yeah, realistically, I think for me, it's no doubt for someone who has been privileged to be fortunate to be invited on various tours to Morocco, media tour to Morocco. I think I can't in any way argue with the fact that Morocco has been an incredible environment, very, very friendly and a wonderful nation. And realistically, when you talk about how much now they've become a major hub in African football and probably the destination for African football, it's no surprise because I think it's an incredible investment being done by the government of Morocco. And surely, as much as they've contested opportunities of raising their brand across African football in terms of politics, I think they have taken advantage of the smartest route to really put themselves on the public, on the global map by hosting major African events like this. You won't forget so soon that politically they fought so hard to get into the ECOWAS group. It never worked out. They've also tried to really muzzle their way on the political level across Africa. A lot of countries feel threatened by what they're doing. But now they seem to take another route, which is taking sports. And it speaks volume about the ambition of this country, and respect to kudos to the King Mohamed VI for making some of these incredible efforts. They are the one who spearheads many of these moves. We always feel governments can always be a major breakthrough in having a global representation or having major representation in terms of football.
So you mean that it is well deserved to give Morocco these hosting rights?
For me, at the moment, there are just no other nation, and that's why they already got the Nations Cup for the Women's Cup 2026. Yes. That's the qualification tournament for the Women's World Cup in 2027. Even though it's in doubt if they are going to host the next year's Women's AFCON because of the challenges they could have hosting it alongside various other events. So, but regardless, you have to give credit to them. They've set out their pace that they want to be the hub for African football, and surely they are living up to the billings and also giving us a very, very good representation. I understand that they're also hosting the World Cup in 2030.
Okay, I'll bring Jidechi to this conversation right now. He says that it seems EDO Queens are in a good place in that draws there. They have in Group B, of course, they pitted alongside with an Egyptian side, Ethiopian side, and also South African side, Mamelodi Sundowns ladies, who are the defending champions. Jidechi is saying it's fair enough. Samuel, do you think it's fair enough for EDO Queens in that Group B draws?
Yeah, to start with, I think it's a good draw. And like he said, as much as it looks a good draw, it's a very tricky one. It looks a replica of what Bayelsa had in 2022. Fortunately, I was there as one of the editors for CAF. And realistically, you look at the opposition, the only difference is the Ethiopian team, where we had the likes of TP Mazembe in our group, and the Egyptian team were the Wadi Degla, who now are being replaced by the newest champion, the newest, biggest and strongest team in Egypt. And realistically, I think it looks a good one. But looking at how the fixtures has also been set up, it looks a different kettle of fish because for me, it's quite tricky. If you look at central back of Ethiopia, they are first-timers. Also, the Egyptian side are also first-timers alongside EDO Queens. It's a tricky one. Why? Because you have to win starting your first game against a very strong newcomers. CBE, that central bank, of Ethiopia has been fighting on all fronts across every CAF competition and only found a breakthrough eventually this year to qualify. And you can't take anything away from the strength and the quality they have in terms of being a team being sponsored by the Central Bank of Ethiopia. So in terms of funding, in terms of support, they don't look like a team that could be lacking, except on the grounds of possibly having more talented players like Nigeria do have. So, but who says they don't have talents? Who says they can't really cause a stir? Who says they can't break the hearts of the EDO Queens? This is where, I mean, it's a bit tricky. The same goes for the Egyptian team. Seeing the kind of fairy tale run they had in their league season and also in the various competitions they were involved in at the domestic level, you definitely must give them massive respect, because a team like Wadi Degla, who came the last time, struggled against Bayelsa Queens. But this time around, you definitely think that some of these other teams who have learned a lot about how to compete strongly against Nigerian opponents. And understanding that this is going to be a tough one, surely they want to do things differently than what Degla of Egypt did the last time. That's against Bayelsa Queens back in 2020. So this is where I said is a tricky one. Before you now play, they are going to be true. They will be true already. If they are going to be out, they will be out already before meeting Mamelodi Sundowns. So it's a very tricky group, and definitely they have a lot to fight for in those two opening games. This is where they have to really go all out to get out victories. And some of these things is not given. It's not given. We could have dominance on the regional level or the domestic scene, but it's a different challenge on the continent.
Yes, a different kettle of fish. They would say, Jidechi, of course, you can hear from Sam. Of course, you're feeling like we're in a good group. It's a tricky one, I would say. These teams, most of them are making their debut there, the competition. But talking about the strength of domestic sides, we've got two South African teams in this competition for this year. Jidechi, before I ask Samuel to give me the options, do you see the title coming back to South Africa again? There's a likelihood.
I mean, it's very possible. We've seen what South Africa have done with their women's football in recent years, from club level down to the national teams. They are not playing, and you can see it telling the fact that they are the only side that have two nations from their country in this competition. It's very possible that both Sundowns and the other side could go all the way, but I want to believe this time around the other nations that are coming to this competition are coming more experienced. Nigeria have always been present, except on one occasion, Morocco too. So I want to believe that this time around it could be different, but also there's a possibility that South Africa could go all the way, considering that they are decided with the most nations in this particular competition.
Well, Sammy, we've heard from Jidechi. I may not get to agree that this time around we would see another South African champion. Are you seeing that in the making with the groupings we've seen today? But looking at how EDO Queens dominated in the qualifiers, of course, the continental qualifiers or regional qualifiers, I would say, are we going to see a shake-up in the title, the team that will be picking the title at the end of the day this year?
Yeah, most definitely. I think you should always relate to the fact that now look at the composition of teams that are involved in the tournament. No doubt the old cargoes we have are the ASFAR of Morocco and also Mamelodi Sundowns. The rest seem to be newcomers. And it speaks volume about the quality of the competition and how maturing the competition is going, and also how more African teams, African clubs are now emerging to really become also a war horse, a warlord in the game of women's football, like especially at the club level. But realistically, looking at the opportunities Sundowns do have, and also University of Western Cape, interestingly, I think these two teams have a very strong chance. But at the same time, as much as I know the ranks of these two teams, Sundowns are very known sides, 2 times champions. University of Western Cape is managed, being headed by one of the assistant coach of the Bayana national team. So you definitely will know that experience is a major factor and a major advantage for the University of Western Cape. And in their league, Mamelodi Sundowns is just a point away from retaining the league title, which is probably going to be their 5th or 6th in a row. And for University of Cape Town, they are also the ones who have the possibility of forcing South Africa, forcing Sundowns, forcing the hand of South Africa, the hand of Sundowns from retaining the title. So So it's a very tricky one. But for me, I think the chance of both of them reaching the finals could be very difficult this time. Why? Because it's an improved competition. We expect a better showing. If you look at the qualifiers, it tells you that all the teams coming into this challenge have come of age. They've learned a lot from the various tournaments and also various representatives who have come from their various countries or region, and surely they want to do things better. If you look at how EDO Queens did turn out and the quality of preparation they've also had, I tell you this for free, that no team is coming to set groundnuts, if you permit me to say that. So it's definitely going to be tough, but no doubt one of the South African teams will potentially reach the semi-finals or finals. But for to win, it will be a very difficult one, because I be seeing a new champion. From where it will come, I don't know.
All right, let's keep our possibilities there open and our hopes open to know who would be crowned the champion for the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League. All right, thank you so much, Samuel Ahmadu. We do appreciate you. Every time you come on this show, you will come with all the fire blazing, your arsenals. You come with them, and I really enjoy them. Thank you so much for giving us your time on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be on the platform.